I was about to ask you that. What do you think of the overall one TNT 4 card? You believe this one's going to be the best one in the series?
I think so, especially with these changes that have come on board the last couple of weeks. I mean, having Eddie Alvarez back on the card is always exciting, and him taking on Yun is going to be a very hard contest for Eddie because Yun is on a tremendous streak. I think it's 3 in a row now, and just having beaten Marek Gafarov being the former featherweight world champion, and Yun brings a style that's very problematic for Eddie Alvarez. The straight right hands, the way he keeps distance. We know that Eddie likes to get on the inside, and Oak's a guy who likes to keep people on the outside. That's going to be problematic for Eddie. And then Oak's got tremendous takedown defense. He's got a great triangle on the ground. But this is a must-win fight for Eddie. If he wants to crack the top 5, if he wants to have any sort of shot at a chance against the champion Christian Lee, Eddie's got to beat Oak. And also, Ongla now facing Derrida on the card, I think is superb. It's more exciting than Ongla versus Big Dash. The fact that Derrida is now hunting Ongla across 2 divisions to take both belts from him is insane. And also having Rug open up the show, Umar Khan against Grushenko, that one's not going to distance. So anyway, you look at it, I think this is the most exciting lineup we've had over the last 4 weeks.
Michael, we have a first question here from Asian Persuasion MMA, Leon Jennings. Leon, please go ahead.
Yeah, how tough a challenge is this for Ongla to go from fighting Vitali to Derrida on short notice as well?
It's obviously there's difficulty involved because Ongla, a change of opponent, a completely different opponent. But I think that there's more impetus for Ongla to fight Derrida. Derrida is the man that took his middleweight title. The Big Dash trilogy has been a long time in the making, but it was so long ago, whereas Derrida is fresh in Ongla's mind. And you've got to wonder how much inside of Ongla's head is Derrida after beating him in, around 3 minutes last time, choking him out, which was a sight we're not familiar with. So I think it's going to give great gusto, great steam to Ongla to have this match, have this revenge match, defend the light heavyweight title, which he's always looked so comfortable at light heavyweight. He destroyed Brandon Vera at light heavyweight. Will it affect him being on short notice? Well, both men are on short notice, but this is defending his gold against the man who took his middleweight title. So I don't think the story here, the rivalry between the two is just superb. And I don't think the short notice is going to matter too much. I think they're going to go hell for leather on this one.
I think so. One more quickly. Chinyoaki, if he gets past it with Fuliang, should he be in the title mix? Since he lost to Ben Askren about almost 4 years ago, he's been on a tear, only losing to Christian Lee, but not many people are talking about him being in title contention.
Look, there's an argument to be made that Aoki should be on the main portion of the TNT card, but what we've got to understand is that with the TNT shows, we are looking to expand a market to an audience that is not familiar to seeing a mixed martial arts product, let alone a one championship product. So, how do you do that? If there's one thing that everybody likes, and especially people who have never seen mixed martial arts or one championship before, they're going to like all-out action. Everyone likes heavyweights. Everyone likes heavyweights who finish. And between Umar Khan and Grushenko, you've got 2 guys who are both undefeated, both have 100% finishing rates. And what a way to kick off the show, which pretty much is going to be a guarantee that the first fight on TNT, when you tune in, will not go the distance. And these aren't 2 sloppy, horrible to watch heavyweights. These are 2 guys who bang. This is one guy who's a Senegalese wrestling superstar, wrestling champion, who's finished people in emphatic style so far. So I think it's a good call because you've got to remember that while if this was a market for hardcores, as we are, Leon, I would agree with you. Aoki deserves to be the number 1 fight against Folayang in the trilogy match to open up the TNT card. But this is us trying to get to a larger mainstream US audience that has not seen mixed martial arts a lot, that has certainly not seen one championship a lot, that is coming off the back of AEW professional wrestling. And what better way to entice them to stick around for the full 90 minutes than to give them, two guys who combined weigh over 530 pounds, and also know how to finish. So I think it's a good call to have them first up on the TNT card.
So I'm in the title mix conversation to challenge Christian Lee for the title, considering he's been on a tear the last few years, apart from losing to Christian.
Well, most definitely, I think he's going to have his title, in his sights. To win against Liang May or another match against Christian. But Christian disposed of him fairly easily last time to win the title. I'd much rather see, pardon me, Christian take on Eddie Alvarez if Alvarez beats Yuya. I mean, Christian's cleaned out the entire lightweight division so far. So the only one that's of real interest, with Gafarov having been beaten by Yuya, is the winner of Oak versus Alvarez now. Aoki's going to want another title shot. He's going to want a second match against Christian for the title to try and get it back. But he's going to get through his arch nemesis Liang. I don't think a win against Liang guarantees Aoki a title shot. It guarantees him a look at it, but it doesn't guarantee him a title shot yet.
Our next question will go to Drake Riggs of My MMA News.
So I'm going to put you right on the spot here. Which fight are you looking forward to the most this weekend?
Did you ask which one am I looking forward to the most out of these fights on TNT?
Yes.
Oh man, that's hard to answer. I think everyone knows that Aung La Sung is one of my favorite fighters in the world, and it's always excitement when Aung La fights. So I'm always looking forward to seeing Aung La, and I think we are going to see a different Aung La to what we saw in his loss against Derrida for the middleweight title. Let's not forget that Aung La in that fight was coming back very quickly after suffering COVID. And there are still so many question marks surrounding professional athletes returning from bouts with COVID and how the disease affects them. And I don't think this has been addressed enough, to be honest, after Aung La lost to Derrida and losing, like I said, in 3 minutes. How did COVID affect him? In a very humid environment in Florida where he lives, where he trains, what strain of COVID he got. And we're told by doctors and physicians that, COVID can kill you, of course, but the debilitating effects of your breathing, of your ability to recover, to train, to get your oxygen back, to get your respiratory system back. I mean, what were the effects? Aung La coming back so quickly after suffering COVID, taking on Derrida, who beat him for the title. How much did COVID play into that? But now we're well past that. Aung La's fully recovered. We're well past his bout with COVID. And he's at a much preferred weight, I think, at light heavyweight. I think we're going to see a mean, nasty, determined Aung La Sung who's completely COVID-free against a Derrida who is evil and nasty. And that's nasty, man. That's evil to want to take to hunt a guy across 2 weight divisions, the same guy to take his title in 2 weight divisions. That is nasty. That's evil. That's scary. So I'm most looking forward to that main event. And also, Derek, because if people haven't seen Aung La fight before, I mean, man, you're in for a treat. You picture Mark Hunt crossed with Joe Frazier, and that's the striking of Aung La. His rhythm, his power, his uppercuts, his movement, not to mention his leg kicks, that Dutch-style kickboxing he's got. I mean, this is a man with a steel pipe in his right hand that just wrecks people. How's Derrida going to stand up to that? Derrida's going to take him down. It's the only chance Derrida has is to take him down. I can't wait for that main event.
Very well said, sir. It's so kind of to springboard off that a little bit. Has this kind of been special for you getting to be a part of this unique era in one championship? And I mean, just MMA overall and I guess life, but, has this been special for you getting to be part of this?
It's been special for me in a number of ways. I guess the little kid in me has come out being on TNT. Man, I used to watch TNT when it was WCW, back in the day. When they were broadcasting WCW, everyone knows I'm a huge pro wrestling mark. And I was WCW guy during the Goldberg reign. He was my favorite. And I remember tuning in every week to Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and watching Goldberg and the NWO, and was on Turner Sport and Eric Bischoff. And now to be a part of that myself, to be following AEW and following Tony Schiavone 4 weeks in a row on a primetime audience on TNT after professional wrestling. It's been a buzz. And to get the chance to commentate to a mainstream US audience, it's been a while since I've been on US TV from when I was on Access TV several years ago. So to be a part of that and be able to push a product that I'm so proud to be a part of One Championship, really has been a joy for me. And I'm going to turn it up a notch this Wednesday on TNT. We're going to have fun with it. We're going to kick its butt. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Absolutely. And just speaking of kind of big moments, you've been a part of a lot in your career. You've commentated fights for the likes of, Megumi Fuji, of course, your best friend, Alistair Overeem. I mean, just what would you say if you could pinpoint something in your career? Maybe it's a fight in particular, but a biggest moment that you've gotten to be a part of.
So many, but I would say the Olympic Games in 2008 in Beijing, commentating the boxing for the Olympic Games was probably the biggest highlight of my career. I think when you're a sports commentator, your highlight is the highlight of the sports world, which is the Olympics. I did that for the ABU, the Asian Broadcasting Union. We'll broadcast to 110 countries. And I was commentating guys like Deontay Wilder and Vasil Lomachenko before they became big stars, and that was a thrill. Mixed martial arts wise, before One Championship, doing Dynamite was huge. I love that event every year. It was massive. Doing all the K1 Grand Prix, I think I did maybe 11 K1 Grand Prix. Every time I went over to Japan and did the K1, it was a highlight. There've been so many, man. I've commentated over 6,000 or 7,000 fights now. And there's just, so many, being a part of the Contender and doing the Commonwealth Games. And, there's been so many highlights over the years. Too many to mention, but I think overall the Olympic Games would be the one.
Definitely a fair answer. And I'll leave you with one last here, and I'm going to steal it a little bit from Johnny probably, but what do you think you would be doing if you never got into the combat sports life?
Pardon me, I think of that sometimes. It would probably still be to do with media. Maybe radio announcing. Radio was my first media love. Maybe writing. I spent a long time as a magazine editor, and you guys know that I still write. I just had a memoir last year called Good Night Irene, which you can get at all good bookstores. So I'd probably be involved in media, either on radio or writing for magazines, newspapers, etc. But I found my way into commentating fight sports when I was 21 years old. I began this in 1994, and I'm still here and still going strong and still loving every moment of it.
Awesome stuff, Michael. Congrats on the memoir, and thank you for the time.
Thank you very much.
Michael, we got a question here from Chris De Santiago of MMA Island. With ONE being on American primetime, it opened a lot of doors for a lot of new viewers. Were you surprised with how many MMA fans did not know that grounded knees were legal following the Demetrius Johnson KO?
I wasn't surprised. We could understand that when the majority of the Western world think mixed martial arts, they think UFC, not One Championship. That's just a fact. Here in the East, when they think mixed martial arts, they think One Championship. So all the kickback that came after the Demetrius Johnson loss from his knees to the head by Moraes came from the Western audience, came from the US audience, who are used to not seeing this rule in UFC. So it doesn't surprise me at all. Our job is to educate these new fans and say, hey, there's not just one rule set out there. There's also our rule set, which encourages more action, which encourages more use of technique. And one of those techniques is knees to head of a grounded opponent, which are perfectly legal. So no, it doesn't surprise me at all. And that's, it doesn't surprise any of us here at ONE, because like I said, the West thinks of UFC and they don't use the same rule set as us.
Jude Brios is of Overtime Heroics. Jude.
As I've seen on the socials, drew the attention of many fans in America. People who did not even have a clue about the promotion were amazed by the ONE rule set. So what's your message, or what can you promise to the Western fans? Can they expect more events to be broadcasted live in in the near future?
First of all, Overtime Heroics is a website I'm really enjoying lately. I only discovered it lately, so well done. Second of all, Gianni, could you repeat that question for me? I didn't catch the end of it.
Oh, thank you for the recognition of Overtime Heroics. The question was, the one on TNT series, as I've seen on the socials, drew the attention of many fans in America. People who did not have a clue about the promotion were amazed by the one rule set. What's your message, or what can you say or what can you promise to Western fans, and can they expect more events to be broadcasted live in the near future?
I think you're asking if we're going to broadcast more events on TNT in the future, and the answer is yes. I know the talks are underway at the moment for another season of TNT shows to happen this year. When I say a season, I mean like a whole month on TNT, like here in April. We're considering this our first season of one on TNT. TNT seem to be very happy with it. The sponsors that have come on board, DraftKings and Geico and, Roman, are all very happy with the exposure they've gotten as well. And we're obviously very happy with the product we put out. The ratings have been very good as well. So I definitely think we're going to see more on one on TNT. It's a great partnership. We're enjoying working with TNT. They've done tremendous things for sports over the years, and they're still doing tremendous things. And once again, I go back to wrestling, what they did for WCW in the day, what they're doing for AEW right now. AEW floats around the number 2 show on cable network ratings, doing like 1.1 million views, which is a testament not only to the product of AEW, but a testament also to the tremendous work at Turner Sports. And, hopefully working with Turner, we can move up those ratings as well and continue to improve our rating figures. So, we're definitely excited to showcase more on TNT in the future and really try and open up one championship even more to Western fans. That said, though, it's not as if there's no chance for Westerners to watch, for US fans not to watch us when we're not on TNT. Download the BR Live app. All our shows, every one of our shows is on BR Live. Okay, download the One Super app, download YouTube. All of our shows are broadcast live on YouTube. They're live on the One Super app as well. If you can't access the YouTube, get a VPN, man. Access it, work it. I mean, the fights are always on YouTube the day after. If you miss them, upload on YouTube and check them all out. So there's no excuse for missing out on one championship. Even when we're not on TNT, we're always there. We are the product that gives you the most access of pretty much any sport, not any fight organization, any sport on the planet. I don't know any other sport organization that gives you as much online access to all of our fights as One Championship. And it shows, in Tubular data last month in March, we were the number 2 ranked social media video views in the world, over all sports organizations, over the cricket, over the EPL, over Glory, over UFC, everything. The only thing that beat us, I think, was WWE. So we are there. There's so much online that you can have access to it. So I just want to hammer home that point that just because we're going off TNT after this week until our next season, you can still tune in to all the shows. You just got to know how, and that how is through the app, YouTube, and BR Live.
Is from Nick Akin of SCMP MMA. Nick, please go ahead.
Yeah, man. We caught up a bit last week. You couldn't really talk about you couldn't give us the results to the fights from one on TNT3, obviously, but now we can talk about it a little bit. So just wanted to get your thoughts on John Lineker and where does he go next? Do you want to see that Bibiano Fernandez bantamweight title fight?
Look, I think it has to happen. There's nowhere else for Lineker to go. Lineker beat Bellignon and beat him effectively. Bellignon was the former champion, and him and Bibiano went back and forth so many times. Then he beat Worthen. We know that Worthen was a late replacement, was a very tough guy. He beat Worthen effectively with one punch. There's other people in the bantamweight division that they can put before Lineker, but I think the fight that everyone wants to see is Lineker-Bibiano. Lineker's called him out 2 or 3 times now. Brazilian on Brazilian, power versus technique. I think it'd be an awesome matchup. I know it's one all the fans would like to see. I think it'd be a blockbuster. Anywhere you do it, big main event. I want to see it. I want to see it. I have my opinion as to who I think would win it. I won't give that away. Many of you may think that, Lineker can starch Bibiano, but nobody starches Bibiano. We haven't seen Bibiano for a while, but pound for pound, he may still be the best in one championship, him and Christian Lee. It'd be an awesome fight.
And Yuya Wakamatsu, he beat Reece McLaren. Do you think Yuya now is next in line for Adriano? How does that division play out, the flyweights?
I like that. I like Yuya getting a crack at Adriano. I think that'd be a good title fight. The flip side to that is I've been saying for a while, I want to see Reece McLaren versus Demetrius Johnson. I think that's a marvelous matchup. Two very aggressive but technical men. You've got that ultra aggressive and innovative submission style of Reece McLaren, who can also trade very well on the feet. You've got, the superbness all around of Demetrius Johnson. I think that's a great battle. For me, they're the two fights I want to see in that division next. I want to see Moraes versus Wakamatsu. I want to see Demetrius Johnson versus Reece McLaren. And then, if Moraes beats Wakamatsu, if DJ beats Reece, then we get hopefully Moraes versus DJ part 2.
And I think a lot of people were picking Gafarov to beat Okrayuna and go and fight Eddie Alvarez. Were you a little surprised by his performance? Were you impressed by him? And do you think he's got a chance to stop Eddie Alvarez?
I think Okrayun's got a great chance to beat Eddie. I really do. You watch the fight against Gafarov again and just look what Okrayun does well. And it's the stuff can Eddie. First of all, the straight right hand, the wingspan. I think Oak's got maybe 3 inches on Eddie in wingspan and in height. That's a lot for a guy that shoots straight left and right down the tube. Try and keep Eddie on the outside, on the end of very powerful punches. Eddie likes to get on the inside, get in the pocket, clinch up, take you down. Now, Gafarov had a lot of trouble taking Okrayun down. Okay, Oak's defense is superb. His takedown defense. And then when you're trying to get on the inside, he can light you up with his hands. That's problematic for Eddie. Okay, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is the leg kicks. Have a look at the very first technique that Oak throws against Gafarov. It's a leg kick that buckles Gafarov's left leg. Now, remember what Edward Folayang did to the legs of Eddie Alvarez? Alvarez doesn't like good leg kickers. And Okrayun's a very good leg kicker who could damage Eddie's legs straight away. Okay, so that's problem number 2. Problem number 3, Eddie gets on top of Okrayun, gets him on his back, starts to work on him. Okrayun's got tremendously flexible legs and he can throw up that triangle that we saw him work against Gafarov and come very close to locking up Gafarov with. So that's problem number 3. Okrayun is also 7 years younger, so he's going to have youth on his side. Okay, it could be another problem for Eddie. Eddie has flown so many miles to get back here. You got to remember, Eddie fought on TNT 1, flew all the way from Philly to Singapore, 9,500 miles, went back to Philly, 9,500 miles, came back to Singapore, 9,500 miles. That's over 27,000 miles that Eddie Alvarez has flown in the last 3 weeks to get his chance to crack the top 5. That says something about Alvarez. What a freaking warrior. But how much will all that travel, the time zone jumping, the mileage take its toll on Eddie Alvarez this week? We don't know. Okrayun, Korea, Singapore, Singapore, Korea, Korea, Singapore, much, much shorter distance, and he's younger. So keep that in mind as well. There's a lot of what ifs. Also, Okrayun traditionally starts slow. Eddie Alvarez starts fast. That could be problematic for Okrayun. He's got to come out of the gate firing at all cylinders. He can't let Eddie establish momentum and authority early. So that's my breakdown of this fight, guys. And I really hope you seriously consider this one in your breakdowns of it online. I think it's going to be a tremendous match.
Yeah, just finally for me, I wanted to ask a little bit about Eddie as well. Do you think with all the stuff that's gone on, it's been kind of bizarre circumstances recently for him? You mentioned the travel as well, but is there going to be a lot of pressure on him? He's 1-2, I think, over 3 fights in one championship. It's not been the start he wanted in this promotion. Is that going to play a factor? The pressure on his shoulders, maybe some thoughts in his head?
Of course, a tremendous pressure, absolutely tremendous pressure. The pressure just to break into the top 5. I mean, you've got to win this to break in the top 5. And the pressure that Eddie has put on himself And that's how a lot of people operate. They operate when they back themselves deliberately into a corner because they want to fight out of that corner. And people do it in sports, in professional life. They will put themselves in that corner and, and come out with a mission statement. And Eddie's mission statement has always been he wants to be the first guy to win the world title across all 3 global organizations: UFC, Bellator, and ONE Championship. No one's done it yet. Okay, Ben Askren tried. He got Bellator, he got ONE, and he failed in the UFC. Demetrius Johnson tried. He got UFC. He failed at ONE. Eddie is trying to get a crack at Christian Lee. Hasn't worked out for him yet. So every time he steps in there, the pressure is immense to live up to what he said he could do. But at the moment, it's the pressure just to get in that top 5, man. And, if you get in there, you got the pressure of this 22-year-old phenom, Christian Lee, who is just freaking dismantling people, handling people without raising a drop of sweat. I mean, that's a guy 15 years younger who has demolished Nastukin, who demolished Eddie Alvarez, who absolutely demolished Aoki, who may be due for a trilogy match with Eddie Alvarez, who demolished Lapicus, who demolished, took apart Dagi. So, in answer to your question, tremendous pressure for Eddie Alvarez, overwhelming burden of expectation on him worldwide. And being exposed on a primetime US mainstream television adds that pressure to Eddie Alvarez.